Hello everybody, this is Armand, and today I'm going to talk to you about key signatures and the circle of fifths. This is a continuation of the series which I have been creating about reading music and understanding rhythms. Since we're pretty much done with the rhythm part, we're just going to talk about reading music and notation of things. The key signature is a very important element in reading music, and you will see it every time you pick up a piece of music. So now, I'm going to show you a picture of what a key signature is before we start our lesson to allow you to better understand what we are dealing with, so it's not just an abstract thing I keep on saying. What you see on the screen now is an example of what a key signature looks like. This is an A major key signature. The way that it's notated is a series of sharps or flats in a conglomeration right after your clef sign, usually at the beginning of a piece, or it can be after a section break, and it will be what we call a key change at that point. But this is just what one will look like. What the purpose of it is to minimize the amount of accidentals that you notate in your music. So if you're in A major, you will typically run across an F, C, and a G sharp. So in order to minimize the amounts of sharp signs that you have to put in the piece of music, we just put this at the beginning, and it's understood that all of them are sharp. What's on the screen now is an example of an A major scale, notated with its proper key signature and without. On top, it does not have a key signature. As you see, there's nothing between the treble clef sign and the time signature. And so each of the three notes that are in the A major scale with sharps have their sharps notated on the individual notes. For the second staff shown that has the key signature, you notice there are no sharps written on the notes. It's because they are understood, as I stated before. You don't write the sharps on the notes if they are already in the key signature. As you can probably guess, there are many different types of key signatures for every key that is out there. You know, there's not just the A major scale. We've gone over what all the notes are, and there is a key for each one of them, major and minor. So don't be overwhelmed by this. There's a solution that makes this very easy to remember, and it's called the circle of fifths. We're going to now discuss this circle of fifths, and I'm going to go ahead and put it on the screen. What you're looking at now is the circle of fifths, compliments of Wikipedia. It's actually the most thorough one that I have found. Unfortunately, it doesn't have your key signatures in the bass clef, but we'll worry about that later, because I'm going to teach you how to write them. So, around the outside, you see it has all of the possible 12 pitches. And we use this as a musical guide for composing and reading music, and it goes in increments of fifths. You pick one of the letters that's written on here, you go to the left or right of it around the circle, and that will be a fifth. So from F to C goes F, G, A, B, C. There, that's a fifth right there. From C to G, same thing, and so forth. The structure of the circle fifths also follows another pattern, which is if you go around the circle from the top, you'll notice to the left it starts counting 1 flat, 2 flat, 3 flat, and if you go to the right, it counts 1 sharp, 2 sharp, 3 sharp, etc. You may not notice this off the bat, but there is another pattern going on here as well, and that pattern is F, C, G, D, A, E, B. That goes around the outside, it also goes around the inside, and it is also the order in which you place your sharps. If you'll notice on the key of G major, there is 1 sharp, and that is F. On the key of D, there is F and C, then A, F, C, G, and the pattern goes so on. And it actually goes the reverse direction for flats. You'll notice on F, the first flat is B, and then for B flat major, you go B flat, then E flat. And the pattern continues in the reverse direction. There's one quick note I'd like to make about the Wikipedia circle of fifths, and that's when you're coming around, you go F, C, G, D, A, E, B, and then it goes F again, and the pattern actually repeats, but with sharps on it. And they did not notate it other than for the G flat to F sharp, but if you remember, F sharp and G flat are the same note. And then excuse me, if we go from F, the next note should be C sharp, where the D flat is. But if you remember, C sharp is D flat, and then we would go to the next note, which would be G sharp, and that is A flat as well. So the patterns both intersect. They just made this circle of fifths look that way, I guess, for symmetry. All right, now that we just finished going over that F through B business, let's go ahead and give you an acronym so you can remember it all by. All right, so the order that went in was F, C, G, D, A, E, B. Now, I'm sure you're not going to remember that just out of your head. I've done it enough that I can, but the way you remember it is Ford cars go dead at every bump. Don't get offended by it. It's strictly an acronym, but it is an easy way to remember what the order of those letters or those keys are for your circle of fifths. Now, you need to remember that from F to B in the order shown is the order that you write your sharps. So starting with G, you have your first sharp as F. And then with D, you have two sharps, so that would be FC. For A, you have FC and G, and so on, as we've discussed. So always remember, your sharps go in the order from F to B. Conversely, we have our flats in the other direction, starting at B through F. So starting with the key of F major, we would write one flat for F, which is B flat. And then for the key of B flat major, you would write two flats, which would be B flat and E flat, and so on. All right, now we're going to take a break from looking at the circle fifths, and I thank you all for hanging in here so far because I've crammed this amount of information thus far into just a little under 6 minutes and 30 seconds. So this amount of information is a lot to remember just for one video watch. So I hope you have your pads and pens out or intend to watch this video a few times. But what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at actually writing out a scale so you can actually see how this applies into music writing. Courtesy of blanksheetmusic.net, I have printed out some sheets of blank staffs and notated out various scales on them for examples. The first one we will look at is C major, then E major, then A flat major, and I'll go over the procedure for notating a scale. I wanted to make a quick mention of some terminology. On the screen, these are what you call lines, which we will be referring to, and then these are what you call spaces. So if we talk about a line note or a space note, it just means the note is on a line or it isn't in any space between lines on the staff. For our first scale example, I've chosen C major. The reason I've chosen it is because it has no sharps or flats, as you will see on the circle of fifths if you go back and check it. We'll begin notating this scale by starting on the note of the name of the scale. In this case it is C, and we'll go ahead and write the C. On the treble clef, the C is on a line note where we started. So what you do is we'll just go to the next note up on a space and write a dot there, which will be D. Then we'll go to the next line and write E. And then we go to the next space, write F, G, A, B, all the way up till C. We do the same for the bass clef, only we start on a space and finish on a line note in the bass clef. Our next example is a little more complex. It is the E major scale. According to the circle of fifths, there are 4 sharps for the E major scale. And if you remember our little acronym from earlier, Ford cars go dead are the first 4 letters that we'll write for our sharps. And I've already notated them, F, C, G, and D. Similarly to the C major scale, we'll start on an E because this is the E major scale. So we go ahead and write E on its line, and we go up space line until we hit our next E. You'll see in the bass clef that it runs off of the staff, so we start writing ledger lines, which are the little lines that just tell you how far it is from the scale. After you write all your notes out, you need to worry about writing your key signature in. We start over on the left, and we will start from left to right, writing out the order of the sharps as we have stated them, F, C, G, and D. You can see they're a little bit staggered in both the treble and the bass clef. In the treble clef, the G actually goes on the space above the staff. Our last example is the A flat major scale. As before, we just went ahead and write starting on A, going up to the next A in the treble and bass clef, and then we actually write the flats in the key signature now in the reverse order as we've stated it before, B, E, A, D, since A flat major has 4 flats. Unfortunately, I forgot to write it into the bass clef,